Today's guest is Dr. Babatunde. Dr. Babatunde is a physician scientist, psychiatrist, epidemiologist, author, and deeply faithful servant leader. He's written a new book you don't want to miss, and the book is titled Adapt and Advance, Turning Life's Trials into Fuel for Purpose. Dr. Babatunde shares stories from his childhood, challenges that he's faced, and he gives us a prescription for moving forward.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Earrings Off. We want to invite you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. You can find us on Facebook at Earrings Off Podcast and on Instagram at The Earrings Off Podcast.
Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa.
Well, hello, everyone. Today we have with us Dr. Wole Babatunde. Dr. Babatunde, welcome to Earrings Off.
Thank you so much for having me on Earrings Off today, Teresa. I'm very excited to be here with you today.
Yes, and we're excited to have you. So jumping right into the questions, your book titled Adapt and Advance. I want to hear about this. Can you walk us through what that means and how it came to define your personal philosophy?
So my book Adapt and Advance, it's a book that has been in the making for a while, but it talks a little bit about adapt means coping with difficult situations, and advance means ability to move forward despite the difficult situations that we go through. My life is a series of multiple difficult situations, which I guess is similar to what a lot of normal human beings experience. No matter how rich we are or how successful we are, we still have one thing or the other we wrestle with. We still have one thing or the other in our lives that is still challenging and difficult. And that's really the mind behind me writing this book, that, okay, I've been through this unique, I say unique because some of them are really unique. And I believe everybody's circumstances too is unique. So I've been through all of these unique situations. I lost my mom when I was 7 years old, and my dad died when I was 13. So that's opened me up to a lot of other challenges that came after that. And fast forward, getting through high school, passing my exams, getting to medical school in Nigeria, getting through that, and fast forward coming to the United States, at every stage, I had to adjust, adapt, and advance. At every stage, I had to adapt to the challenges and advance. And that's why when I was putting the book together, that was the title that kept resonating in my head: Adapt and Advance, Adapt and Advance, which means no matter what difficulties we are going through, we can adapt and then advance a little bit. Another difficulty comes on your plate, we can adapt and advance a little bit. So that's the whole mind behind the book.
Wow.
That's amazing. At such a young age, how did you develop that mindset?
So the mindset of adapt and advance, I would say, came by because when the challenges started tumbling in, coming in, I had to decide, will I let this define me in a negative way, or will I let this be something which comes to meaning making, be something that will help me to be the best version of myself? I would say very early, one of the things that I think helped me early was I got exposed to, and one of the chapters or one of the sections in my book talked about learning and reading books. And I emphasize it every time I have the opportunity to speak, because I believe it's one of the things that helped me the most. I still remember that book on my dad's shelf by Norman Vincent Peale,
Ah,
which talked about, yeah, yeah, he was, my dad read the book, not like he read it to me specifically, but it's one of the books that I think I stumbled on, flipped through a few pages, not that I read so much, but kind of like resonates so well with me that there's the power of positive thinking that you can always get through things. So when
Mm-hmm.
things started turning upside down and they were no more, and I remembered some of the few things they told me, how he started his business, how things went well, and, before tragedy struck. So some of those tiny bits stuck in my mind, and I said, I will not let this define me in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
I would rather find a way to adapt and advance. Until today, even many, many years after losing them, I still have that mindset. When things fall on my plate that I don't like, is adapt and then advance.
Okay. Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, Dr. Babatunde, many people feel stuck in survival mode.
Mm.
What's the first step someone should take to move from just surviving to actually advancing? What can they do?
Yeah, I would say the first thing I would think was what I mentioned, like the first section of my book is meaning making. I think that is the very first step I would recommend. The other steps are not necessarily sequential, but that one is very important. It's kind of like the foundation
Okay.
of our ability to adapt and to advance. And what do I mean by meaning making? There's this book I read by Viktor Frankl on man's search for meaning. It's one of the best books I read during my psychiatry residency training very early. And that book really, really was a eye opener for me. It was, I don't know if you know about his story, but it
Mm,
was one of those Jews that was in a concentration camp,
okay. Hmm.
and he witnessed the death, the loss of so many people,
Right.
including his own wife, and even, I think his parents, everybody died in the concentration camp. But there was something he said in the book, Man Search for Meaning. He said the meaning that we give to what we are going through goes a long way to determine the outcome of those challenges or those problems, whatever name we want to give to them. And one of the things he said our attitude to the problem matters. And there's one thing I always say, that to adapt and advance means to interpret your pain as
Mm.
preparation, not punishment. So when we
Oh,
realize
wow.
that,
Yeah.
when you realize that the pain I'm going through right now is not necessarily a punishment, but it's a preparation in the big scheme of things. So I would say the very first step not to get stuck is to understand that one, there's a bigger picture than what I'm going through right now. Everything that I'm seeing is not all that there is to it. So there's a
Mm.
bigger picture. I might not understand it. It might be painful. It might look impossible to get out of this, but I understand that there's a bigger picture. There's something I cannot see. It's like onions.
Mm-hmm.
You peel
Layers.
the layers and layers and layers, and you keep going in. So you realize that there's something deeper inside
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that is more desirable, although the outside doesn't look good right now.
Yeah.
But I believe there's something bigger inside. So I think that awareness is number one. We need to be aware that there's a bigger picture, there's something bigger than us, and our attitude to the problems changes.
Yeah.
Then we can take the other steps and move things forward after
Yeah.
we can make meaning. Otherwise, people get stuck when they cannot make meaning from what is going on.
Yeah. That's very helpful. Something I try to do now is to try to settle myself and think about, what am I supposed to learn from this? What is this problem or issue? What is it trying to show me or teach me?
Correct.
And that took some age and some time for me to get to
Hmm.
that point because I
Hmm.
would always react to things. And
Yeah.
when you react so quickly, many times you make the wrong call, you make the wrong move, you say the wrong thing, and sometimes damage can occur. But when I try to learn to settle myself and to
Mm.
think about just what you just said, doctor, that I'm not being punished, the reality is that life happens, things
Yeah.
happen. And
Hmm.
so our reaction to them is critical. So thank you so
Very.
much for sharing that.
You are so much so welcome.
Yeah, yeah.
So you balance your identity as a physician,
Mm.
a scientist, and a man of faith. So how do all those roles interact in your daily life and in the message of the book, in the book of your
So
book?
I strongly believe everything ties together into
Uh-huh.
one whole for all of us. And in one of the sections in my book is like having your own personal mission statement. I use the framework map lamp. The first M is meaning making. The second M at the end is mission statement. Having a mission statement. For me, I have my mission statement. I have 7 lifetime goals, and all of them ties up together into one. I wouldn't say like, of course, when I'm with my patients as a psychiatrist, I wear my hat as a psychiatrist. When I'm in maybe church, or maybe with the youth group or my small groups, I wear my hat as a Christian at that point, And of course, when I'm doing research, I wear my hat as a scientist. But the information and the feedback from all of them work together as one big whole thing. And I say this because, for example, my faith, I don't talk about it when I'm seeing my patients in the clinic. That might be inappropriate,
Yeah.
but my faith still forms the foundation of who I am, what I am,
Mm-hmm.
and, my outlook to life, even the way my response to things. One of the events that moved me to tears in towards the end of my residency was one of my patients brought like a live, flower, to me, plant, lily plant, peace lily plant. And that was really, really huge for me because we worked together for 4 years. And she was like, not that I solved all our problems, but as much as possible, that I always have a positive outlook to things. I'm always smiling. I'm always this. I'm always that. And I got that kind of feedback from so many of my patients. Again, while we are being trained, of course, to be nice in psychiatry, half of that is because of my own person and my faith and the things I believe in. Also, the same way with what I learned from psychiatry when I'm also in church, I also bring a little bit of it and let them know that faith and science, they are not against each other. Like one of my mentors always said that God gave us a brain so
Mm-hmm.
we can give him a rest. So the reason we have brain is because God wants us to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have doctors who have discovered things that are helpful to us. Are they perfect? Of course, not nobody is perfect. But we have this brain which we have inventions, we have cars, we have
Mm-hmm.
so many other inventions that are helpful to us because we humans use our brain. So I believe strongly that God gave us the brain so we can use it to better our lives. So I believe everything works together. So some of the things I learn in science, even when I'm among people of faith, I let them realize, for example, exercise is good for you. I let them realize healthy diet is good for you. Those are more of kind of they are evidence-based things to prove all of that. So everything eventually comes together as one piece and one whole.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Nice.
So, Doctor, can you share with us, or would you share with us a story from the book that shows how adversity became a turning point for growth?
Yeah, so I have many stories in the book. Actually, every chapter I make sure I share a little bit of a story from myself and also a little bit of a story from someone more successful, someone maybe well known
Mm-hmm.
that used the principle of that chapter. So that's every chapter has a layout of one story of someone. I talked about Oprah Winfrey in some chapters. I talked about Bill Gates in another chapter, things like that. Then I talked about how I personally also used the principle. I think the one that comes to mind and which really was a little bit dramatic for me um, was when I started my psychiatry residency. It was a 4-year program in the US. Um, there's this exam we do every year just to test your knowledge. And they always tell us, of course, they expect you to fail in the first year because you are just starting, because you should grow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if you have 50th percentile in the first year, you have 60 in the second year, 70, that shows you are learning something, because everybody does the same exam, whether you're in the first year, second year, third year, or fourth year. So I took the first one and I was in the 10th percentile for the whole country. And I felt
Mm-hmm.
among all psychiatry residents, and I felt so bad. Like, I don't know anything. I'm in the bottom 10 of everybody. And, you know, just like all the principles in the book, I sat down like, okay, what can I make out of this? How can I turn this adversity around? And what did I do? I called people that have succeeded. They told me what to do, how to study for the exams, the question banks to use, and stuff like that. The second year of my residency, I jumped from the 10th percentile to 84. So that was
Wow.
like a big jump.
Yeah.
That was
Wow.
plus 74. I was like, yay, yeah, this is cool now. And then the principles that worked for me, I used it. So this is now thinking about the bigger picture. Now I'm like, okay, they needed somebody to teach other residents how to prepare for the exam. I'm like, yes, I can do that. And then I taught other residents in the first and second year the principles. And again, I jumped from 84th percentile to 92nd percentile. And the residents did very well. My fourth year, I jumped to the 95th percentile. And at that time, 4 of us had above 95th percentile in my program nationally. So what am I trying to bring out here is it started chaotic. Like 10th percentile was really, really low. But I'm glad by the time I finished residency, I had moved up to 95. And not just that, other residents in my program also
Mm-hmm.
benefited from the things I learned. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't just, if I had just taken it as a failure at the beginning and didn't make any sense out of it, then I would not benefit, others around me would not benefit.
Right, right. But look what happened. Not only did you benefit, but you were such a blessing to others. So that's commendable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah.
So, in your psychiatry practice, how do you see faith and mental health working together to bring healing?
So faith and mental health working together to bring healing. So I would say I would preface this by saying, of course, not just in psychiatric practice, but in all aspects of medicine.
Hmm.
Faith and medicine can work together. Like I said, they are not necessarily separate or opposite things. They are things that work together to bring healing for people. I've had patients who in my psychiatry practice got better because of their faith. In fact, there's evidence that for some psychiatric illnesses, people who believe or who have faith or they believe in something beyond
Mm-hmm.
themselves, they
Mm-hmm.
tend to do better. For example, depression, for example, people who tend to have faith either in God or something higher than them, they tend to do better because, guess what? In psychiatry, most of what makes people have disorders are related to one stress or the other. And our faith kind of help us to handle stress better.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean we should not take our medications? Of course not. But of course, if you get to the point where you feel you so well, you can cut back a little bit, you can do that, talk with your doctor, and then you can work on that together.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, your faith is not against use of medication, and use of medication is not against your faith. If anything, it's an act of faith to even use medication, trusting that it's going to help me to be better and it's going to help me to overcome whatever I'm dealing with. So definitely, faith and medicine should work together to give the best to people.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, doctor, what surprised you the most? And I'm interested in hearing your response to this while writing Adapt and Advance. What surprised you the most, either about yourself or the message God placed in your heart?
My biggest surprise was the fact that I can be very, very emotional. um, I'm because of the things I went through and the difficulties, losing both parents very early. By the time I grew up and became a man, I was a little bit not very, very emotional. Like I didn't grow up in this, like my parents were not there to like be very loving, be very
Yeah,
caring,
right.
so my emotions are not like as well developed completely like it should be because of that. So of course, there are a few times I cry, but I don't cry a lot, but writing the book, you know, brought a lot of emotions out of me. In fact, when towards the end and when I was listening to the audio version, the audio book will be released August 1st. But
Okay.
when I was listening to it, I almost didn't believe I wrote it. I know tears were coming from my eyes. I was like, wow, wow, wow. Listening to my own story of how difficult life was, how I lost both parents, how I was in school and for my mom, they just came to take us from school straight to drive to our city to get my mom buried. How I was also in school. I was called to the vice principal's office to tell me that I needed to go home, only to hear that my dad just died. All of that story. There was a chapter where I wrote like a summary of all of that. And I was listening to it and it was very moving and very emotional for me. So I realized that I can also be very emotional too, beyond maybe just the business of life. Maybe I just don't, interact with that part of me so often.
Yeah.
But the book, brought that out for me. And the other thing I think that I learned a lot from writing the book is I learned a lot of the principles that I think I know in bits and pieces all over. I was able to pull everything together into form one big whole and framework that can be helpful for anybody going through tough times and tough seasons. And I'm so glad, like coming up with Map Lamp, which is the 7 core sections in the book and all of that. I was so glad that I could do all of that and tie things up into one big umbrella.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Thank you very much.
Therapy, huh? That's what it sounds like.
Yes.
Writing the book
Yeah.
was therapy for you. So, if a listener picks up your book and finishes it,
Mhm.
what is one thing that you hope they walk away with from reading your book?
One thing I pray about every day, I hope for every single day, is everyone that handles my book would be unstuck from whatever is making it hard for them to go forward. The title is Adapt and Advance. And I truly, my heart desire every day, my prayer every day is, Lord, everyone that sees this book, that reads this book, that handles this book, give them the wisdom to be able to adapt to whatever they are going through and to be able to advance irrespective of what it is they are going through. I like in psychiatry, we hear a lot from our patients, personal problems, maybe a little more than most other aspects of medicine, because, like I said, most psychiatric disorders are usually precipitated by stressors in our lives. Not that, of course, there are biological basis for most things like depression, schizophrenia. They also have biology behind it, but most of the time, there's always a precipitating stressor. Something happens. Maybe somebody, gets divorced and, the whole world got shattered. Or like me, someone lost their parents or their spouse or whoever, and, their whole world crumbles down and or whatever, or maybe failing an exam, different in 1,000,001 problems that people can have.
Right.
So there's always one thing that's usually the last straw that breaks the camel's back. And at times it could be maybe drugs or other things too that could also precipitate things. But the big thing is everything we are going through. I want everyone that reads this book to be able to know that no matter how hard it is, whether you're going through depression, you're going through whatever it is that is a fallout of those problems, you can get unstuck. If you need professional help, get it. If you need a therapist, get it. If you need to see a doctor, see a doctor. But by all means, adapt. Come up with a strategy. I want the book to teach people something they can do to adapt to what they're going through and to be able to advance and to be able to see the big picture that all of these things will turn to me for a testimony. Whatever it is, we all have different trajectories and we don't all have the same path. Everybody's path is unique.
Right.
But like I always say, I want everyone to be the best version of themselves. Be the maximum you can be. If your maximum, I don't like quantifying things in money, but just for the sake of arguments and example, if your maximum is 100,000 net worth in your lifetime, then be it. Don't die as 1,000 net worth if you have the potential to be 100,000. You get what I mean? If you have the potential to be millions, don't limit yourself on thousands. But again, everybody's limit is different. But I want this book to help people discover what is inside me and be the best and live your life to the maximum. Like Mike Monroe always says that the richest place on earth is the graveyard. And what it means is people die without fulfilling what they are meant to fulfill. So I want people to read this book and die empty, meaning you live your life to the maximum. Everything that potential God put inside of you, you can bring it to the surface and be the best version of yourself.
I love that.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah. So we've reached the last of our questions. This has been a great conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Are there any parting words you'd like to leave with our audience?
My parting words is I poured my soul into this book and I've had a lot of good comments already showing that this book is blessing lives. Currently on Amazon, we have about 160 reviews over the last 2 months. People that have read the book, that have been blessed by the book. So I want to encourage everyone listening to me. And we are still in, the ebook is currently $1.99, which means that's cheaper than a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
In most places.
Yeah.
Just for maybe that will even buy 4 cups of coffee in some place. So cheaper than, a cup of coffee, you can buy copies of my book. If you like the hard copy, that's $11.99 and it's on Amazon. So if you just type in adapt and advance and you put in my name, it's going to boom, pull it up for you. So I want everyone listening to this to get a copy of the book. If you're unable, if $12 is too much for the book, for the paperback, then get the ebook to be delivered to your phone and you can read it on your phone and get something out of it. And by all means, I would like to know how blessed you are. My email is in the book. So I would really love to know how blessed you are by the book. Send me an email or you can leave a review on Amazon or do both. I would really like to connect with everyone that reads the book. So my parting words is there's something in this book. Books do change life. And one thing I didn't say enough in this interview is my own life has been changed by reading books. Like I said from the beginning, Norma Vincent Peale's book was one of the very first things that changed my life for positive. So books do change life. And I want to recommend and encourage everyone watching this video, get Adapt and Advance by Oluwole Babatunde on Amazon and read it. And I strongly believe something definitely positive will change for good for you.
Mm.
That is awesome.
Mhm.
Thank you so much and take care.
All right. Bye bye.
Thank you.